Prime Minister, the Cabinet has agreed that forever, when it comes to the production and consumption of our food, the manufacturing and purchase of our goods, we're going to be following European Union rules. Now, when people voted for Brexit, they thought we would be making our own rules. So what will you say to those Brexit supporters who may say you've let them down?
Well, first of all, the proposal that we've put on the table is a good proposal for Britain. It's a good proposal for people's jobs. It's a good proposal for our future. And what it does is it does create a UK-EU free trade area with a new customs arrangement. That enables us to protect jobs through no friction on the borders, but it also enables us to ensure we're maintaining standards. And Parliament will be able to make sure that no new changes will take place without Parliament giving its approval. But look, our manufacturers operate on the same basis of rules at the moment, and they've been very clear with us that they'll carry on doing that in the future, because if they want to export to the European Union, that's what they will need to do. What this does is it protects jobs, it protects livelihoods, it maintains our commitment, meets our commitment for Northern Ireland, and it's good for our future, because it also enables us to do trade deals around the rest of the world, increasing jobs here, increasing prosperity here.
Nonetheless, the likes of Boris Johnson, Michael Gove, who were on the other side, of course, but they did tell the British people that if we left, we would have control over these rules and regulations. Now, you say rightly that Parliament will have the role of translating these rules and regulations into British law, but you also say, of course, if they fail to do that, the trade deal would be quite close to collapse. So actually Parliament doesn't have that sovereignty.
Well, first of all, when people voted for Brexit, and I'm very clear, I will not let people down. We will deliver Brexit. We'll deliver the key elements of Brexit that people voted for, which was an end to free movement, absolutely clear. There will be an end to free movement. No jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice in the UK. There will be no jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice in the UK. We will stop sending those vast sums of money to the European Union every year. We'll come out of the Common Agricultural Policy. We'll come out of the Common Fisheries Policy. We will be taking control of our borders, our money and our laws. And this is a good deal for Britain. It's a good deal that ensures we're protecting jobs, that we can provide jobs in the future with our trade deals around the rest of the world, but also keep that good relationship with Europe that is good for our economy too.
Now, I know you've pledged that we're going to be able to negotiate free trade deals with other countries, but that can't happen until the technology is in place to track goods that come into the UK. How long do you think it'll be before we can have that freedom to do free trade deals?
No, we will have freedom. There's a legal issue as long as we're still a member of the European Union. We can't sign up to free trade deals with other countries, but we will be able to put those free trade deals into place when we, at the end of the implementation period, so December 2020 that is, we will be able to put those trade deals into place. Now, some elements of those trade deals may come in as on a staggered basis, but we will be able to do trade deals around the rest of the world, and that's important for us. That's important for us as we look to Britain's future, because what I want to see and what we want to deliver and what we will deliver as a government coming out of Brexit is a bright future for this country. That's what people voted for. They wanted to take control of borders, money and laws, which we will do, but they also want to see a bright future for Britain, and that's what we're working on and that's what we'll deliver.
And you don't think that your colleagues will be worried to see us collecting taxes, customs, tariffs for the EU forever?
We've developed a new customs model that ensures that we can meet our commitment that there's no hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland, and that we get frictionless trade between the UK and the EU. And that's important. Businesses have been clear to us that is important. I believe that this package is a good package for Britain because it delivers for people on Brexit, but it also ensures that we're maintaining, protecting jobs and livelihoods, and that we're opening up opportunities for the UK for the future.
The rest of the EU may say that we've got to pay some money to them to secure this access to their single market for goods and food. What will you say to them if they ask for budget contributions?
What we've said we will do is if we continue to be members of certain programmes or members of, or have access to, or have members of certain European agencies, which would be beneficial to the British public, like the European Medicines Agency, then we'll pay our way.
But Norway, for example, does have to make budget contributions as a member of the single market. We want to be more or less a member of the single market. Won't they ask the same of us as they ask of Norway?
Well, first of all, we won't be members of the single market. What we will be doing is having a common rule book in certain areas to enable us to have this free trade area with the European Union. And Norway has a different relationship with the EU. We've been very clear that the sort of relationship that Norway has, the EEA relationship, is not one that we're looking for. Actually, Parliament itself voted against that very, very recently. So that message is clear.
So what you've highlighted is actually something you've said all along, is that we're looking for something very different in terms of a relationship from the relationship that other countries have with the EU. Now, the chief negotiator, Michel Barnier, has signalled he's very doubtful that he wants Britain to have that relationship. Why do you think you will be able to get this deal? You've got it through your ministers. Why do you think you will get the EU to agree with you?
This is a good deal for Britain, but I think it is also will be good for countries in the European Union as well. I've always said that a deal that's good for us will be good for the EU too. And as we look at the situation that the UK is in, we're a member of the EU, we've been a member for many years, we're leaving on the 29th of March 2019, but we start from a different position from other countries who've never been members of the EU. We've got a close relationship at the moment. Let's make sure that as we leave the EU, we're able to have a partnership with the European Union, the remaining countries there, that makes sense economically. We're also looking for a good security partnership. This is about cooperation for the future that is to our benefit, to the benefit of people here in the UK.
Will you negotiate this directly yourself with your opposite numbers like Angela Merkel and Emmanuel Macron?
Well, what happens in negotiations is it takes place at different levels.
Sure.
Obviously, there'll be some discussions I'll be having with leaders. There'll be the discussions that David Davis will be having with Michel Barnier. And then, of course, a lot of technical discussions take place behind that so that we make sure that we're all working to the deadline of October that the European Union themselves said was the appropriate point to have agreement on how we leave, the withdrawal agreement, but also sufficient detail on this future relationship that people can have confidence about what our future partnership will be.
But you will be personally selling this to other government heads?
I will be doing that, but actually ministers across government will be out there across the European Union, across the EU27, across Europe this summer and over the coming weeks, actually speaking to their opposite numbers, speaking to others, explaining this proposal, explaining why it has a benefit to them as well as for us.
Now, you've talked about the role of your fellow ministers. Up to now, there's been a lot of dissent when it comes to Brexit expressed by those ministers. Do you now expect all of them to be promoting the policy they've signed up to?
Well, when the referendum was announced, David Cameron suspended what's called collective responsibility, so that recognising that people would want to campaign on both sides of, some on different sides of the argument. Now, what was very clear at the Cabinet meeting was a feeling that we'd come together, that with that collective responsibility in unity, and we go out, and this is a good deal for Britain, that we go out and if you like, you've used the term sell this deal to Europe, but explain this deal to our European colleagues. And what I want to see is a new pace in the negotiations, the intensity of the negotiations increasing. So, that Europe, we've put this on the table, we look to Europe to respond.
With collective cabinet responsibility back when it comes to European issues, if a minister criticises the policy or says something that's not consistent with the policy, what will happen to them?
Well, the mood that I had at the meeting last night, the mood that I had yesterday from the Cabinet was very clear that we've taken this decision, we now want to move forward together, and move forward together in the interests of the UK, because we are going into a negotiation. We will be sitting down with the EU negotiators, I'll be sitting down with leaders from the 27 countries that are staying in the EU. We will be explaining why this is a good approach to them. It's a good approach for us. I think will be a good approach for Europe as a whole. But we want to see Europe moving too. We want to see Europe responding to this and sitting down with us and taking this forward at a greater pace than we've seen previously.
Now, I've been told that we're running out of time. I've got 2 very quick questions, if you'll indulge me. Very quick. One, we don't yet know what the reaction of your backbench MPs is to this. If some of them are angry, if they put in those famous letters and there's a leadership challenge, how will you respond?
Well, I think that this is that the package we've come to is a good package. I think it delivers on Brexit for the public, but it also is good for Britain's economy and for our future. I think there is a challenge at the moment, and that's a challenge to Europe.
But you'll face down your critics in the party if they emerge.
It's a challenge. The challenge is to the European Union to sit down with us and let's move these negotiations on at a greater pace.
And finally, England match today. If England make it to the final, won't you go to Russia to represent Britain?
Well, I've always said that we take this at every game at a time, as I think Gareth Southgate has said for his team. There was a reason why ministers haven't been going to Russia. It was because of the attack that took place on the streets of a British city, an attack using a chemical weapon, a nerve agent.
But if England are there, it's going to be very hard, isn't it, to stay away?
We have been very clear as to why we took that decision in relation to ministers.
Prime Minister, very good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.